It's 4:30 a.m. And we are live. On a not so instant reaction show on Talking Badgers, I suppose. But nonetheless, a reaction show that, because of what happened inside of Camp Randall Stadium tonight, of course, the headline being a Wisconsin Badgers win 17-0. I guess I'm not sure that that is the headline, of course, because the question of that Wisconsin Badgers win is, it does come, but at what cost? As Billy Edwards Jr. goes down with an apparent non-contact injury, an injury that the Wisconsin Badgers football team has officially designated so far as a lower body injury. Um, Unbelievable, unbelievable to see that there was at least a moment, that this program could be doing the same thing as it has done the past 2 years. If for some strange reason you are coming into this stream now at 4:30 a.m. Central Time, um, we are here much later than originally intended because of life difficulties. So sometimes when you cover the team, when you cover teams in person, as I am now back in my home in not Madison, at 4:30 a.m. When you cover teams in person, there's some games where you kind of expect what you're going to write about and what the story is going to be, and post game stuff isn't all that important. It informs your coverage and helps you get stuff, but ultimately it's maybe one or two guys who've had really interesting nights, and it's a ho-hum, kind of what you expect in a sort of game. And then there are other nights where maybe a football team loses its starting quarterback with a major injury for the third season in a row. And everything that you maybe had planned going into that game gets thrown out the window relatively quickly. I started the evening with a relatively well written out some real thoughts about this football game that we watched, and then they kind of don't matter. They do matter, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about these thoughts, but ultimately we're here at 4:30 instead of 11:30, because all the people I was able to talk with after the game, it mattered. And what Dilin was doing mattered, and off to the races we went, because we had to get down and talk to Luke Fickle. We had to get down and talk to Christian Allegro. We had to get down and talk to Sebastian Cheeks and Vinny Anthony and Jackson Aker and Joe Brunner and Danny O'Neill. The name to know tonight in Madison. Yeah. So look, this is far from an instant reaction because I've been sitting on this game now for 5.5 hours between writing about it, talking to players about it, uploading some YouTube videos. I've ultimately left a little bit more, I think, measured in my reaction since the game has ended. But I'm going to do my best to put myself in the shoes of where I was roughly 5 hours ago. Which was to say that, look, there was not a pretty win, far from it. But by the time I had gotten to the end of the game, I had put myself in the spot of thinking, look, the offense has questions. Kind of knew the offense was going to have questions. Maybe Dilin and I, when we did our very first show right before fall camp, where we were like, maybe there's reason to have more questions about the defense than the offense, I think we were wrong, considering what we saw tonight. But it's hard to know that for sure, given the starting quarterback of it all. Nonetheless, there were moments in time in which the offense did not cover itself. and glory. And this is not going to be a very well structured show because, one, as I mentioned, it's 4:30 a.m. And I felt an obligation to get on here for a scheduled stream far after the scheduled time and give you all something to put it in the feed. But I'm going to go offense, defense, and special teams real quick and try to get out of here relatively soon so I can go back to bed. The offense had its issues. Issue one, Davis Hines in at left tackle. Like issue one with a bullet, maybe, and then some. It was not pretty. It was not what anybody wanted to see. It's not what he wanted to put on tape. It's frankly not what I expected. I expected him to be somewhat serviceable. I expected if he wasn't going to be serviceable, that the staff would do more to help him out. There were times where he was on an island and it did not look good. What the answer there is, I don't think it's putting in Leighton Nelson, as the staff did at one point last evening, Thursday evening. I don't think that's the answer. I do ultimately think the answer, much like I am sure Dilin thinks is the answer, is you kick Joe Brunner outside, even if that is not his natural position. I think you kick him outside because I think you feel a lot more confident if you're the Wisconsin football staff in your depth on the interior than you do in your depth at tackle. Because I don't know what your depth is at tackle. I really don't know that this team has depth at tackle because I think this team has one starting caliber tackle to begin with. And that's Riley Mahlman. Your other starting caliber tackle was injured in camp in spring. And what we saw tonight, I do not think will inspire a lot of confidence in Badgers fans and Davis Hines in. And I don't know that anything Davis Hines can put on tape against Middle Tennessee will assuage any of those concerns of Badgers fans going into the week against, Alabama to be certain, but then it's Maryland. And then right after that, it's Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon. And a Davis Hines in those 4 games just sound like, after what we saw tonight, if it's just what we saw tonight, and the median of what we saw tonight is roughly the median of what you're going to get out of Davis Hines in those 4 games, I don't know how you as a staff can confidently do that and say we are putting the quarterback of this offense, whomever it is, in the best position to win. That was certainly the biggest issue. I think there are some reasons to be hopeful in the rest of the process for the offense. Things to not be hopeful in, real quickly. Danny O'Neil, get rid of the ball at some point in time. Like, you are a wild animal, Danny O'Neil. Get rid of the ball. Hold the ball so long. And sometimes he steps up in the pocket. Not all the time. Yeah, that's a wild ride. It's a wild ride watching Danny O'Neil. And the first two full drives of him leading the offense were just the perfect example of that fact. Leading the offense toward the first touchdown and the first interception of the season. Oh, tremendous Danny O'Neil content. If he is the quarterback of this football team going forward, I do think it will be more entertaining to watch than Braden Locke, because I think there's a greater variety of outcomes. I don't know how much higher the ceiling of outcomes are with a Danny O'Neal at quarterback compared to a Braden Locke, but I do think there's a greater variety of outcomes at the very least. And that includes the possibility for more touchdowns. So I guess in that sense, yes, it does include raising the ceiling. But what we saw out of Danny on Thursday was just wacky sometimes. He's scared of the ball or he's going to die. And there were some play calling decisions that I thought were kind of odd at times from Jeff Grimes. There was like an early 3rd and 5 where they ran Dilin Jones on an off tackle run to the left, your weak side of the line, off tackle to pick up 3 yards. Weird play call. I think that was the first drive of the game. And then the second drive of the game was just a thing of beauty. I mean, 15 plays, 7 minutes, 16 seconds. It was the most Wisconsin Badgers football drive we've probably seen in the Luke Fickell era. I would have to go back. I'm sure we've said that at some point in time last season, but it was, I had it marked as 6 different guys getting rushes. I don't know if some of those have been since changed on the official stats to not rushing plays, because when I looked back at the halftime stats packet later, it did not indicate that there were 6 different players who carried the ball on that drive. Nonetheless, a 15 play, 7 minutes, 16 second drive that concludes in to skip ahead a little bit, or let's just skip all the way to it, to the special teams portion. Nathaniel Vakos 42-yarder, first 42-yarder he would have hit over the last 2 seasons. First time he would have hit a field goal of 40 to 49 yards in the last 2 seasons. He was 0 of 3 from 40 to 49 in 2024, despite in 2024 becoming the program's all-time leader in field goals of 50 plus yards. So maybe he has shaken that bugaboo. Also notable, no Gavin Lom as the kickoff specialist. So my guess is because Vakos won that place kicking competition, the plan is for Gavin Lom to redshirt because that is available to him. He played in 22-3-4 and has a redshirt available. I said he had a redshirt available tonight, but now that I'm thinking back on it, I think I was wrong. No, I was right. Never mind. Sorry. I was wrong. I was wrong. Gavin Lom does have a redshirt available. Saw in warmups that Vakos was warming up as kickoff guy. Thought that was odd. And yeah, it turned out that that Vakos did take it. So a role in which Gavin Lom excelled in the last seasons, all 3 seasons that he's played, being the kickoff specialist. I guess we're going to see Vakos this year and then Gavin Lom next year. I don't know what else the answer to that is. I think that is the plan. Otherwise, I don't know why you would not have seen Lom out there as the kickoff specialist tonight. The other thing I noticed from the offense is they really, really, really moved around the personnel that they used a lot. And I don't just mean on motion stuff, because we saw guys running all over the place pre-snap, be it Jackson Aker, be it Jackson McGowan, be it Lance Mason, be it Cade Yakimelli, like on some orbit motion stuff, like tremendous. Who else? Was it Yakimelli, or did I note there was some Darian Dupree orbit motion stuff. Some McGowan in the backfield with Dupree, and then they give the ball to Tyrell Henry stuff. beyond just the pre-snap formation, whatever, they're using a high number of guys, a higher number of guys than I necessarily expected off the rip, because that 15 play drive, we saw 5 or 6 different wide receivers. And yeah, maybe 5 or 6 wide receivers doesn't, I believe it was 5. I have it down as 5. Maybe that doesn't sound like a ton, but you have to combine that with the fact of we saw 5 different wide receivers. There were multiple plays with multiple back sets, multiple plays with multiple tight ends. And so to still see 5 receivers in that 15 play drive, they're going to try to get a whole bunch of guys in here. And at least the evaluation period is still going on while they figure out who is their core set of guys come Big Ten play. Guys in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and just leaving defenses wondering where the ball is going to go next. That 15-play drive was just I know it ended in a field goal and not a touchdown, but I think nonetheless, I think that was the most impressive drive we saw from the offense. Certainly not the 13-play drive for 43 yards of 7 minutes and 3 seconds that ended with a punt at Miami's 37 that results in a touchback for a net 17-yard punt. Come on. You have the guy who is the program leader in field goals for a career of over 50 plus yards. Holy moly. That was certainly a decision. Whatever. I don't know that I'm prepared to have like really, really, really strong thoughts on Danny O'Neil besides the ones that I have proffered up thus far. I think he looked fine. I think he looked kind of like what I would have expected. Multiple guys tonight when I talked to them. I mean, it's Luke Fickell said it in his presser. His words were, Danny O'Neil's got a kind of confidence you can't teach. Joe Brunner said he's got some swagger. It's just who he is. And he's a different kind of quarterback than Billy Edwards Jr. He's a different kind of quarterback. And I have no idea what it means if we see him over Billy. I don't think it changes the offense too much. It just brings a different kind of energy. I don't know. As for the Billy Edwards of it all, Luke Fickell says they don't know anything yet. I think when he said that, I think that was probably mostly true. He was on the sideline roughly 10 minutes after the second half started in street clothes. Nobody I talked to after the game, and if you want to see those full videos, they're on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@talkingbadgers. Nobody I talked to after the game sounded like they had just watched their puppy die. For lack of a better metaphor or a simile. So I don't think he's done for the year. I think they really did avoid disaster. What that means for Middle Tennessee, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we have any reason to think that anybody knows yet. Okay. Other guys I want to hit on real quick. Oh, I was a little bit discouraged after seeing fullback dive early on that Wisconsin struggled so hard to get 2 yards in the red zone. The Preston Zachman pick in the fourth quarter, he steps out of bounds at the 2. And then it really does take an all-encompassing effort to punch it in to the end zone. Come on. Katie Akameli rushed for 1 yard to the 1. Katie Akameli rushed for 0 yards to the 1. O'Neal 1 yard QB sneak. Like, sure. Felt like a lot of work to get there. Miami, on the other hand, they couldn't punch it in on third down, even. 9 on third down. That is bonkers. Hats off to this defense. I did not know you had that in your arsenal coming into tonight to just absolutely shut down that Miami offense. Did I expect that Miami offense to necessarily be electric? No. However, there was a real opportunity for Daquan Finn to cause some damage, and this defense did not let him. I think one of the guys who really prevented that was Sebastian Cheeks. I thought he did a tremendous job setting the edge on his side of the line tonight. I thought he was incredibly impressive from a discipline standpoint against a guy that you know as a defender that you have to be disciplined against. I thought he did a wildly impressive job from that perspective. And I was watching his side of the line a little bit more closely, but I thought he did a quite good job. And they really did contain Daquan Finn quite a bit. He ends up, and yeah, this is college football, so the sack numbers, but he ends up with 12 rushing attempts for a total of 13 yards. You will take that every day against Daquan Finn. That includes 3 sacks. So props to this Wisconsin Badgers football team. Those 3 sacks coming in the form of the first one was Mason Reiger and Brandon Lane. They split that in half. Mason Reiger did about 90% of the work there. That's the first sack of the season. Daryl Peterson gets a sack, so he matches his total from 2024. And then Christian Allegro, who I thought played a unique role in that what he brings as a linebacker is someone who is not just going to be good in coverage, not someone who's just good at plugging holes in the run. He really does have the speed and the just I'm going to get at you motor of a pass rusher. I'm not making this comparison, but it's just something that's on my mind for obvious reasons. It's like a Micah Parsons kind of, who started off as like an off-ball linebacker, right? But ultimately has a pass rushing nose like nobody else in the world. Is Christian Allegro going to be the next greatest defender in the NFL? No, probably not. I cannot believe Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. But Christian Allegro lined up on the line a lot. And that's not something I remember him doing in past years under the previous versions of the Mike Tressel defense. Now I could simply not be remembering this, but I really did feel like we saw him line up on the line of scrimmage more tonight than in past years. And for this staff's efforts in putting him in different spots, Christian Allegro was in the backfield all night, culminates in a sack late in the third quarter, and something that Allegro told me he felt in his bones it was coming. Just he had been in the backfield, he had been sniffing it out. He knew he had a sack coming his way. I thought the pass rush was dynamite tonight. Dynamite. And that was the ultimate question of, all right, if there is a pass rush here, it has to show itself in this game. If there's any hope of there being a pass rush, it had to show itself in this game. Because this Miami offensive line does not have the goods. And that's very clear tonight, because that Miami offensive line had a combined 3 starts coming into tonight. Not as a unit. 5 guys collectively have started a total of 3 college football games. It's not an experienced line. Got big guys on the defensive line for Wisconsin. Bolstered their pass rush. It is very, very, very clear that they did so. This based off of their performance in this game. Now, who knows what else happens, right? But we shall see. An impressive job by the defense. You hold Miami to 117 yards of total offense. I mean, Miami just couldn't do anything all night. It was a tremendous showing by the defense. And De'Ani Hill gets the start opposite Ricardo Holman. Nothing to complain about there. Preston Zachman plays a good, well-rounded game. Gets rewarded for it with 2 picks. In our segment on After Dark, I wish Dilin could have made it to the show right after, because on our segment After Dark, we asked the guys, what's one thing you're confident Wisconsin's going to do, and what's one thing you are concerned they will not be able to do? Dilin said he was confident this defense was going to generate 2 turnovers. There was nothing until the fourth quarter, and then Preston Zachman stepped up with 2 picks. Made good on Dilin's promise. Good for him. Thank you, Preston Zachman, from us here on Talking Badgers, making us out to not be liars. He, of course, had an impressive night. Christian Allegro had an impressive night. Mason Reiger, that dude can rush the passer. That dude can rush the passer. We saw a lot of the young guys out on special teams. Mason Posa, Cooper Catalano. A lot of the young guys out on special teams. I don't know whether or not this is a game you can take a whole ton away from. I don't know. But there is not much negative to take away from defensively, I think, is what I feel quite confident in saying. I don't feel as confident in saying that offensively, because I do think the tackle play is going to be a problem. I do think there were some small hiccups in play calling at times, although I thought that I thought Jeff Grimes found his got his feet underneath him a little bit more as the game went on. And maybe that's not just Grimes, but also the personnel, because I think there was a little bit of a hiccup then again too when Danny O'Neil came into the game, right? So I think some of that is personnel. And eventually O'Neil got himself together, composed himself. Yeah, you benefit by making it 17-0 by leading a 2-yard drive. Okay. Did lead the offense down the field 2 other times beyond that. Did get the offense to the opposing 37 another time. Coaching staff decided to punt. I think I'm okay with I think you feel okay about what you saw from Danny O'Neil tonight. I think. Particularly once you got past the first half. I think that's right. I think that's about all I got. It's 5 a.m. My goal was to get home by the time the sun came up. Sun's still not up. I'm home. I'm ready to go to bed. So I think that's been the instant reaction show. That's not so instant. 6 hours after the game ended. On Talking Badgers. We'll be back. Give you some more assembled thoughts soon. And then next week is a little bit weird too with the holiday. A Luke Fickell presser on Tuesday. Player availability. We'll have After Dark for you Tuesday or Wednesday. Probably Tuesday night. We'll go live when we do that at 8:30 p.m. again. So maybe push some extended thoughts on the Luke Fickell presser to Wednesday, maybe, or otherwise we'll just react to it on After Dark. We'll hit Seamus Says on Thursday, presumably. And then it is game day in Madison once again against Middle Tennessee. It's kind of a weird, like, going right after it again, but also it is longer because now it's Friday. Got to get through Saturday again. It's the longest time between games that this team's going to have this season, but hey, that's life, I suppose. I don't know. I need to go to bed. For all of us Talking Badgers and at badgernotes.com, I have been Kedrick Stumbris. If you want to find more of the content from when we talked to players after the game tonight, that is on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@talkingbadgers. Go over and find it, talking to guys like Christian Allegro, Joe Brunner, Jackson Aker. Those videos are uploaded now. Until we talk to you all again very soon on Wisconsin.